If it's my time to be hated, you will despise me. Pro wrestling always used to be soap opera for men. Fighting opera. Ever two words to encompass what we really are. It's fighting opera. One of the things that I don't like is how far we've gotten away from the stuff that really, really works in pro wrestling. Really resonated with wrestling fans, that drew out real emotion. I can't make you believe that pro wrestling is real, but I can make you believe that I'm real.
My guest today is a former 8-time ECW Tag Team Champion, as well as an 8-time WWE World Tag Team Champion, is one half of the legendary Dudley Boys. Today, he's one of the most respected voices in pro wrestling, is co-host of Busted Open on Sirius XM. It's my pleasure to welcome to the program the WWE Hall of Famer, Bully Ray. Thanks for coming on today, man. Great to see you.
Ricky, thank you for having me on. You only listed 16 of my 24 World Tag Team Championships. You forgot my 2 singles World Heavyweight Championships. You forgot to say that I'm in 2 Hall of Fames. And the most important thing that you seem to have left out, even though you can see me right now in living color, is I'm a damn handsome man. And I think that your listeners, especially the female ones, need to know that. Now we can begin.
Well, all right, there's no argument here for me. I look like a guy that you would have beaten in about 53 seconds somewhere along the way. Enhancement talent would be generous for me, sir. So I stand corrected today. Bully Ray, I want to start with the comments that you made about Brock Lesnar and CM Punk recently. Brock Lesnar returning to Raw. And I'm going to quote you here, and you speak as a guy who obviously has shared the ring with Brock Lesnar on numerous occasions. You described the German suplex that he gave Punk as anything but crisp and said, I know for a fact he's going to German you based on how he feels about you. Now, obviously, there's a professional expectation, there's a ethical obligation to work safely in your industry, but where is the line of discretion for a guy like Brock Lesnar in a situation like that?
There is no line of discretion. Brock does what Brock wants to do. Period. End of story.
Simple as that?
It's as simple as that.
Heavyweight champion. Who's going to tell him not to?
Brock will do in a wrestling ring whatever Brock wants to do in a wrestling ring. If he wants to dump you on your head, he will. If he wants to give you the smoothest, nicest, prettiest German of all time, he will. Brock is a different kind of animal. That's why he has the nickname and the moniker, The Beast. That is truly Brock Lesnar's yard. Yeah, Roman Reigns made claim to that being his yard, but at the end of the day, it's truly Brock's. And you only get to do what Brock wants you to do. You get away with nothing. Brock really is the be-all and end-all in there.
You used to hear that about Andre. You always would hear about Andre didn't like Randy Savage. How much does personal dynamics bleed over into the ring sometime? If two guys genuinely don't like each other outside the ring, does that make it more difficult to work with the guy? Or is it something where you set that aside, you go in there, you do business, and then you go back to disliking each other after the match?
This is, if you've been brought up the right way in my industry, you display decorum and professionalism at all times. Even if the person standing across from you is not your best friend, not on your Christmas card list, or somebody you generally just doesn't like. If there's money to be made, you put all personal differences aside. I was around in TNA wrestling and witnessed this with my own eyes when Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle had to do business together, and that was a very deep-rooted personal issue in which Kurt Angle could have at any time did whatever he wanted to Jeff Jarrett, but Kurt maintained his professionalism, and they did some very great business together.
All right, Bully Ray, I want to get into your career because, as you said, I mean, over a third of a century, incredibly enough, that you've given to this industry, and your accomplishments speak for themselves. Here's a question I have for you. As you look, sort of like aerial view of your industry in 2025, you broke into the business 1991. As I said, you've been around, as you detailed, the championships and the accolades. You could stack them to the moon practically. As you look at where pro wrestling is right now, how do you feel about the health of the industry? What do you like? What do you not like?
I love that wrestling as big now as it was during the Attitude Era. I love the credibility that professional wrestling is starting to garner, i.e. WWE's partnership with ESPN. I love that the business is a lot healthier for the talent, healthier as in demons, drug, and alcohol addiction. It's a considerably different business these days. One of the things that I don't like is how far we've gotten away from the stuff that really, really works in pro wrestling. The simple stuff that really resonated with wrestling fans, that drew out real emotion, such as the good guys versus the bad guys, psychology, selling, the depth of storytelling, and characters that you can really sink your teeth into. I think wrestling has, for the most part, the majority of the time, is like, we're here today, the show's over, forget about it, we're moving on to tomorrow. I like things that stretch out. Pro wrestling always used to be soap opera for men. There was a company in Japan called Hustle back in the day, Hustle Pro Wrestling. And they had a moniker for their company that I always loved more than sports entertainment. And I always loved it more than professional wrestling. They called it Fighting Opera. And I was like, wow, if there's ever two words to encompass what we really are, it's fighting opera. Because in professional wrestling, it's not always about the wrestling. Sometimes it's just about the straight up fighting. And this really is opera. It's larger than life. If you've ever seen Luciano Pavarotti or Domingo or any of the great operatic singers perform on stage, it's larger than life. It's huge. It's over the top. And that's what this business is all about. And I wish we had more of what worked in the past. And I always turn to rock and roll to kind of draw a comparison. Live Nation is throwing gazillions of dollars out there to the Bon Jovis of the world, to the Night Rangers of the world, to all of the veteran bands of the world to go out there and perform. They're not throwing money at young bands because these young bands aren't drawing. Yeah, there's a band here or there that has a following that draws a good house. But there are no more AC/DCs, no more Van Halens, the new version of them. And my point is, what's old is new. The old way of getting over in the pro wrestling business still works today. There's too many wrestlers who rely on wrestling maneuvers and not enough on themselves. I don't want to react to a wrestling move. I don't just want to go, ooh, he threw a nice super kick, or wow, look at that Canadian Destroyer. I want to be able to say, yeah, Shawn Michaels just hit him with sweet chin music. Or, oh my God, did you see Bully Ray hit the Bubba Bomb? Fans need to connect to the entertainers, the wrestlers, the talent. Because if I can emotionally connect, if I can get fans to emotionally connect in me, if I can get you to love me, if I can get you to hate me, that means you're going to want to pay money to see me get my ass kicked or kick somebody's ass.
That is a great point. I've been a fan for, probably 45 years. And you see guys today who physically they're doing incredible things, but when it's over, it's kind of like, well, how am I supposed to feel about that? I don't really feel anything. And once you've seen, high flying moves so many times, they become kind of empty without what you're talking about, which brings me to one of my favorite young talents today. And I'm interested in who some of your favorite guys are, this young generation, guys under 30 or, in that range. I love Dominic Mysterio. There is something to me about the way that he is able to bring out raw emotion. I mean, people in the crowd, they want to strangle him, which I think is such an art form. There are so few guys who can really push those buttons the way that he can. I'd like to get your opinion on Dominic and then maybe some other names that you think can be a part of, taking wrestling forward in the way that you're talking about.
Well, you've come to the right place because nobody has pushed buttons over the past 30 years as I have pushed buttons. And back in my day in ECW, I would start legitimate riots, me and my brother Devon, every single night. And I can push buttons and start riots today if I wanted to, but we live in a different age. And what I did then is probably not acceptable today. But when it comes to the talents that I see out there, I thoroughly agree with you on Dominic. Because Dominic can get you to do the two most basic things you need fans to do in wrestling. You can love him or you can hate him. And that's what this is about. The good guys and the bad guys. Black hat versus white hat. Love and hate. Dominic is excellent at what he does. Dominic is excellent at pushing buttons. Dominic looks at his own father and tells him, "You're not my dad, Eddie Guerrero is." People love Rey Mysterio. And then Dominic says that to his dad's face, implying that, not even implying, flat out saying, "You're not my dad. I'm the product of somebody else." People absolutely despise Dom for that. But then on the other hand, Dom gets in the ring and pulls and does a phenomenal job like he did with John Cena in Boston, losing the Intercontinental Championship to John Cena, but still taking a step forward and getting over in the fans' eyes. The beauty about Dom is when he fully matures in this business, you're going to be able to love him on any given night or hate him on any given night. Brings me to another talent that I think has an incredible future in pro wrestling. MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman from AEW. This kid is fire on the microphone. And people thought that all MJF could do was talk until he wrestled 60-minute matches against the Bryan Danielsons of the world and the Will Ospreys of the world, and proved that he could wrestle with the best of them and talk better than the best of them. So Dom and Max are, to me, real standouts. Young guys in the business with incredible futures.
All right, I love what you said about being able to work to make the fans love you or work to make the fans hate you. As you said, you did that. A great heel, one of the greatest heels, but people also, they loved you. They loved to cheer for you when you were in that babyface role. Not everybody can do both. There are some guys that are great heels, but it falls flat if they're in the other position, and vice versa. There's some guys, but for you, you could do that. Andy Griffith,
let me expand
was
on
a great
that.
villain. Yeah, please.
Let me expand on that just a little bit. I'm gonna make a comparison to human relationships, man and woman. There's only one way in a relationship to truly hate someone. The only way to hate is through love. You have to love somebody deeply and dearly to truly hate them. If something happens, something goes wrong, when that hatred comes out, you're so angry because you loved this person so much. How could they possibly do whatever it is that they did to you? Same thing in wrestling. The best bad guys were loved first. And the best good guys were hated first. Through love, you get to hate. Through hate, to hate, you get through love. And that sounds really, really deep and complex, but it's as simple as it gets. And a man and a woman's relationship, or any two human beings' relationship when it comes to love and hate, is the same type of relationship a wrestler, a performer, an entertainer has with an audience. When I go out there, if it's my time to be hated, you will fucking despise me. You will want to slash my tires and throw bricks through my windows. But if you love me, you're going to want to buy me a shot or name your firstborn child after me. Those are the degrees of love and hate I believe in wrestling.
All right, you hear people talk about the psychology of it. That there are guys out there that they learn the moves. They can put on a Dave Meltzer, can give them, 16 and a half stars, but they're lacking in that area that you're talking about. I mean, that's what made the NWO take off the way that it did. It's the first time anybody had seen Hulk Hogan work as a heel in, 15 years or near it. When you get into that psychological element, is that something that you think is lacking with young guys today? And I would be interested in how much Paul Heyman had an influence on you in terms of how you view that particular component of your profession.
This part of the art form of the depth of emotion and the love and hate is eroding rapidly in wrestling. There are still guys out there that do it well. Like, you love Cody Rhodes. Children love Cody Rhodes. And by default, parents love Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is making their kids so happy. Now, when it comes to hatred, Dominic is doing a good job with hatred. Maxwell, MJF is doing a good job with hatred. But as far as one guy out there who can pinpoint hatred, who, when they come through the curtain, you just want to see them get their ass kicked. It doesn't matter who comes out to kick this guy's ass as long as somebody comes out to kick that guy's ass. That's a heel. Logan Paul in the WWE is doing a great job with it. Don Callis in AEW does a great job with it. When a wrestling fan says to me, I love to hate you, that's about the worst thing anybody can say to me. Because if you love to hate me, then I'm not getting the job done. You shouldn't love anything about me if I'm the heel, if I'm the bad guy. You should disdain every last thing I do and say. You should want to see anybody, the cameraman, the ring crew guy, the announcer, the wrestler, the chick in the front row, crack me in the mouth. And yes, where did I learn this stuff from? ECW. Paul Heyman. Paul gave me the rope. He gave me the ball. He said, go out there and do whatever you want to do. I don't care what kind of a frenzy you stir them up into. Just make sure it works. And that's what me and my brother Devon did on a nightly basis. That's how we got over. That's what made us unique. We stood in the middle of a wrestling ring and we challenged fans to fight us. And that wasn't a work. We beat the shit out of fans on the nightly. And if you didn't come to us, we came to you. And it would be nothing for me and Devon to go over the guardrails. It would be nothing for me and Devon to drag you over the guardrail. It would be nothing to say the heinous things that we said to men and women. Nobody had ever done it before, and if they did, they didn't do it to the level that we did it. And Heyman let us go and let us go. And what he did was he molded and shaped the hatred as we went along. This was raw hatred. We were a raw piece of clay on a wheel. A raw piece of hated clay, and he molded it, and he molded it, and he molded it, and he molded it, and we perfected it in a way that one day that phone rang from the WWE, and they said, we want the Dudley Boys. So no matter what people say, we went a very unconventional route, but I'll be damned if it didn't work. And it worked so well that me and my brother Devon, the Dudley Boys, Team 3D, went on to become the most decorated tag team in the history of professional wrestling.
To me, you've always been a throwback, because when you got to ECW, it was right around that time that people were starting to get the internet in their homes. And as you know, the internet really was the beginning of a transformation of the industry, because for people who may not be huge wrestling fans, there was a thing called kayfabe, right? Where, people didn't know who was really friends or who did this or who did that. That public persona that you crafted was all that people knew. And protecting the business was so important. And then with the internet, try as you might, it's just, the internet's the ultimate leaky hole, right? Everything gets out there. And of course, eventually everything got out there. How did that change the industry, and how did that change for you, particularly, say, when you're working as a heel? How did that make your job different when you're working in an industry where people think, oh, well, it's just fake. Oh, well, it's all a show, whatever, in a way that they didn't in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even on up into the 80s?
Ricky, I can't make you believe that pro wrestling is real, but I can make you believe that I'm real. Now, I would love to take credit for that one, but I can't. Johnny Valentine said that a long time ago, and those are words that I still live by. People part like the Red Sea when I walk in a room, because they don't know where it begins and ends with me. And I can tell by looking at you on this Zoom call right now, neither do you. You're a little bit wide-eyed, Ricky. You're like, what the fuck did I get myself into today? This guy is intense. And now you're laughing because you know I'm right. I protect this industry as much as I can. I can go into a middle of a wrestling ring tomorrow and make you believe anything I want you to believe, because I can blur the lines that well. Master magician, master psychologist. You pay $100 to go see David Copperfield. You sit in your seat for an hour and a half. David Copperfield brings an elephant out on stage. You see the elephant in front of you. And then David Copperfield does a little bit of hocus pocus, and the elephant is gone. And you stand up on your feet and you give him a standing ovation. Why, Ricky? Tell me why.
He made you believe it. He made you believe it.
He made you believe that the elephant disappeared. Meanwhile, Tommy Dreamer is standing, the elephant is standing right in front of you. By the way, Ricky, I always have to get in a Tommy Dreamer fat joke on every show I do. It's a given. You don't know the inside joke, but to anybody who's listening, we'll be laughing. But yes, the elephant didn't disappear. The lady didn't get sawed in half. There's no rabbit in the hat. But I made you believe there was, to the point that you paid to see me and gave me a standing ovation because you believed. And what word is in the middle of the word believe? Lie. I made you believe my lie. And there's very few of us who can still do that. We're talking Jedi and Sith level stuff here. It's a dying religion. It's a dying art form that not enough still understand how to do because they rely too much on moves. Moves only get you a certain reaction for a certain amount of time. There's only so many times you can pop in a wrestling match. Eventually, you need something else. You need the love, the hate, the laugh, the cry, the gamut of emotions, the full range of emotions to take people on this ride of your story.
All right, I'll close with this. What you're talking about is high-level stuff. This is high-level psychology. It's high-level physical performance. God knows how many tables you've gone through. God knows how many punishing moves you've given and received during your career. God knows how you can even get around after all of that, in addition to the storytelling, in addition to the emotion that you evoke. How much does it piss you off when people are so dismissive of this? You were talking about equating it to opera, fighting opera. I've always said it's one of the great art forms, I believe, that there is, because you're combining Broadway, you're combining the NFL, you're combining all of these things together into this one spectacle that, when done right, affects you emotionally, viscerally, in multiple ways. And yet you always have the idiots, because just as a wrestling fan, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had through the years with people who say, oh, that's stupid. They're just pretending. Nobody looks at Top Gun and says, oh, Tom Cruise isn't actually flying that jet. I feel like it completely misses the point when people do that, and they take something that, when it's done well, I do believe is one of the greatest art forms there is, and they reduce it down to just saying, oh, it's fake. How much does that bother you when people just completely miss the point entirely like that?
Professional wrestling is not fake. There is nothing fake about what I have done for 30 years. When it comes to the physicality of my art form, there's nothing fake about it. My 8 concussions are not fake. My shattered ankle is not fake. My 3 broken noses are not fake. The countless stitches or closed up wounds with crazy glue in my head are not fake. Nothing about my injuries or any other wrestler's injuries out there is fake. Owen Hart breaking Steve Austin's neck in a ring is not fake. Chris Benoit breaking Sabu's neck in a wrestling ring is not fake. Any of the horrible injuries that have occurred are not fake. Wrestling is predetermined sports entertainment. But I got some news for you. A lot of those other quote-unquote legitimate sports that you love, the fix is in on those also. It's been going on for a long time, folks. So when people tell me, or have the balls, which they don't, to be standing in front of me, physically standing in front of me, and say it's fake, I asked them if they'd like me to apply a hold to them. A very simple hold, any hold. Tell me if it's fake. Or if I have a man come up to me and say, hey, isn't it fake? I said, well, it's kind of like your wife's orgasm. Only she really knows. And that's where I'll leave the conversation on fake.
He is one of the greatest to ever step in the ring. One of the greatest interviews that we've ever had in the history of this program as well. Truly a pleasure to speak with you today, Bully Ray. Thank you.
Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate it, bro.